Hey everyone, welcome to my Intro to Physics, episode number 7. Today is going to be about finding the relationship between two similar triangles with a different side and angles. Let's jump into reading the question. Danny stands at a horizontal distance x from a mountain and measures the angle of elevation of the mountain top above the horizontal as theta. After walking a distance d closer to the mountain on level ground, he finds the angle to be phi. Find a general equation for the height of y of the mountain in terms of d, theta, and phi, neglecting the height of his eyes above the ground. This question gives us quite a bit of information, so let's see if a drawing can help us. Danny is chilling over here with a mountain that is far, far away. This distance is our x distance. Danny now finds the angle of elevation to be theta. The angle of elevation comes up from the horizontal, making an angle from his feet to the top of the mountain. This problem is starting to look like a triangle and can be recognized as the problem does deal with a distance, height, and some angle. Next, Danny walks a distance d closer to the mountain, so his starting position to end position is d. He then finds this new angle from his feet to the top of the mountain to be phi. Finally, the height of the mountain is given as y. We should also add this other distance as this total x distance minus the d distance. With the picture done, it looks like the problem is dealing with two triangles with a similar height of y. We now have to find the relationship between them to solve for y. Since we are dealing with triangles, we can find y using trigonometry. With the bigger triangle, we can use tangent of theta to get our opposite side of y over the adjacent side of x, which is tan theta equals y divided by x. To deal with the smaller triangle, we can use tangent again to get tan phi equals y divided by x minus d. Hopefully the picture really shows why we have x minus d for this smaller triangle. These equations don't have y isolated, so let's go ahead and solve for y for both of the equations. For the big triangle, we get y equals tan theta times x. For the small triangle, we get y equals tan phi times the x minus d. Both equations are solved for y now, and the question specifies the equation to be in terms of only d, theta, and phi, not the variable x. So since both equations contain an x, we need to get rid of it somehow. Solving for x can give us an equation to substitute for any x. If we get the substitution, we should have our y equation solved for in terms of just d, theta, and phi, as asked. To solve for the x variable, we can set the two y equations equal and manipulate it to isolate the x. Now it's finally time to calculate. Set the two equations equal, so on the left side, tan theta times x equals the right side, tan phi times the x minus d. Let's multiply the tan phi out on the right side to get tan theta times x equals tan phi times x minus tan phi times d. Isolating the x terms, add tan phi times d on both sides, and also subtract tan theta times x from both sides. Cross tan phi times d on the right, and tan theta times x on the left. This leaves tan phi times d equals tan phi times x minus tan theta times x. With x isolated on the right, we can factor the x's out and get tan phi times d equals x times tan phi minus tan theta. And now divide both sides by tan phi minus tan theta and cancel on the right side. We finally solve for our x and get x equals tan phi times d, all divided by tan phi minus tan theta. With the x solved for, we can use this equation to substitute into one of the y equations we got. let's use the big triangle y equals tan theta times x. I'm going to substitute in x and get y equals tan theta times tan phi times d divided by tan phi minus tan theta. Writing again more clearly, we get our final equation of y equals d times tan theta times tan phi, all divided by tan phi minus tan theta. We have now solved the general equation for the height y only in terms of d, theta, and phi, which is y equals d times tan theta times tan phi, all divided by tan phi minus tan theta. I hope these intro problems are as helpful for you as they are for me. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you come back to learn more exciting material, and see you next time.